Today we got an amazing video that you could benefit from if you watch it. And I know some of you guys are spending more time on adult media content websites than you are educating yourself with day trading during the week. And let me tell you something, put in the time today, listen to this interview, this podcast that we have done with Blair Trades. I think that's his YouTube channel. We'll have his link to his channel in the description where he is posting his live archives so far every day. Okay, so check out his channel, subscribe. Today we are interviewing him because he has, in my mind, turned the corner and is now trading super consistent. He's what I call the max loss master. And he's absolutely just got a hold of it. He's sizing up and he's gonna share with us in this video, in this interview, some of his backstory of being a musician. Okay, so watch through that. And also he's gonna explain what clicked for him and what helped him, in my mind, turn the corner. And his stats are just showing basically straight up as he's really embraced what I call the 50-50. He's embracing it in his own way as well. And so he's gonna share with you guys what he's looking at, because it's a little bit different than what I'm looking at. And this is gonna help you guys, hopefully, if you watch it and you actually watch it. I'm hoping it helps you. So without further ado, let's get in and let's hear from Blair. You were in a drawdown and you had, you're trading Tesla and now, now you're what I consider turning the corner, have turned the corner. Now you haven't made $1 million, but you're definitely showing that you understand the 50-50 strategy. You understand consistent profitability. So the first question, what's your story? And give us maybe how you found my channel a little bit.
So I'll just give a quick background on myself as a person. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. I live in Los Angeles now. Before that, I was in New York for 8 years. I grew up playing piano. I'm a musician. I went to New England Conservatory of Music in Boston for my bachelor's and master's degree on full scholarship. Then got a record deal right out of college and then moved to New York. I have 5 albums out of my own music with various,
really? Wow.
Yeah, with like
I didn't know that.
Yeah, various.
We gotta get a copy of those albums. but anyway, sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, it's all instrumental music, so pretty kind of avant-garde. But yeah, anyway. But I started getting into trading really as a way to be able to just to do the kind of music I want to play more freely, really. And I also have another business where I teach music. So I've been teaching music for a long time.
Oh, we're learning a lot today here.
Yeah.
So you are a teacher by nature.
Yes. Yeah. I've been doing that for almost 15 years, I think now.
Okay. So I might need to take some lessons here.
But anyway, yeah. So trading. So back in 2020, I had a really good friend from my hometown who was investing in crypto, and he's like, "Man, you got to check out crypto. Ethereum, Bitcoin, Cardano, etc." And so I downloaded Coinbase, and that was kind of the first time I was exposed to really looking at charts. So I would see a chart of Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, and I actually started investing in crypto. And I was bag holding for basically 5 years. And I just got out, break even. But that's how I kind of got introduced to just markets in general. I mean, I'd always been interested in investing from when I was like a kid. I was into and my uncle would say "What's your favorite company?" And then he would buy me like $25 worth of Disney stock or
Nintendo.
Yeah. Because of crypto, I started going on YouTube, and then I came across Ross, Warrior Trading. And then, it's like the first video I watch, he just starts the video off with like, "All right, guys, I'm up $34,000 on the day." And I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" So I was just blown away. I was like, wow, like this is incredible. Like, what is this? I didn't even know this kind of thing existed. Really. I didn't know anything about day trading. So I'll share my screen. So this was when I started. So I did start in November of 2021. So, it was like about a year after I got into crypto. But, there's that first day I made 150. And then, as you can see,
Oh yeah, a little bit shaky there, and then it drops out hard there.
yeah. And then it's like, pretty early on, though, I was down around 1500. I kind of started like, okay, I need to size down. So that was kind of, and you can see
That
that
was
like
smart.
here.
I can see that it flattens there.
Right. And then it kind of goes up a little bit, but then, you can see, and then I try to size up again, and then another big
Yeah,
drop.
and then a little rebound, and
Yeah.
then
So then what I did was I found this, finally stumbled upon this guy named Juan Trades, and he actually doesn't have a channel anymore, but I came across his channels and he was trading small caps profitably. And he was kind of just using like one or two setups, but he was taking them with like 5,000 shares, or sometimes more like 10,000. So, I kind of started doing that and still was struggling. So that was around like here. I remember this day was just where I lost, I think,
yeah.
$1,400.
Ooh,
It was a horrible day. I was in tears.
so I can imagine. That's just yeah. But hopefully
Yeah.
a lesson learned
And
there.
especially after this kind of run up here,
That
that
was
took me
nice.
like 5 or 6 months, and then I gave all of it back and then some in one day. It was just like the worst feeling. Um, but then right around here, I was like, all right, I'm gonna like size down again, and then you can start to see how I start finally kind of turned a corner. And this was all trading Tesla. Then just real quick, then I switched to futures for some unknown reason, even though I'd found profitability with Tesla, and I dumped again. Um, and then I went back to Tesla, and then finally, okay, I'm sticking with Tesla throughout this whole time. So I'd found profitability with Tesla, but I was still having a lot of like big red days where I'd have like
Right.
huge max losses. Um, but I was just tired of these losses, and I said, you know
Right.
what? Maybe I should go back to small caps. Um, and so this is when I switched to Trading Farmer, his course. So let me go back to this. So here's the thing though. So before I switched back to small caps and got your course and started studying, I'd already known about you though from like way earlier. So I'd seen your videos back in 2022. And the way that I found out about you actually was from Relentless Trader, because I was checking his stuff out
Oh,
too. Kind of, I wasn't in RT's community or anything, but I was like, I would go on the Discord a little bit, and I tried like
gotcha.
mirror trading with him one day, and it was a disaster.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I can imagine.
but I decided eventually like this is not working for me. And but the thing is there was one day I was watching his stream, and he started talking about, he said, oh, the trading farmer. And I said, who's the trading farmer? For some reason, I thought he was talking about Ross. I don't know why I thought that. And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
maybe
I think Ross is a little bit into farming. I don't know.
that's what I was. Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, oh, maybe it's Ross. But then I typed in the trading farmer, and I saw your videos. But the thing that RT was like, oh, like what he said was like, oh yeah, like I gotta I gotta size up like the trading farmer. I've been watching a ton of his videos and learning a lot from him from his trading. So I was like, wow, like I wonder,
Who this guy
who
is.
this guy exactly. Yeah. So then I went to your videos, and this is the thing about the 50. So your strategy with the 50/50. When I first saw that, I think that video where you called it like the sniper entries,
Hmm. Yeah,
like
like
the quick
those quick
scoping.
trades. Yeah, the
Yeah,
quick
like
scopes.
I'd seen so many of those videos at the time. I mean, at the time that you'd put them out. Um, and when I was talking to my other mentor, Juan, at the time, I was like, "Have you seen this guy?" Like, and he was like, "Yeah, like it's crazy." Like, and he told me at the time, like, I don't even understand. Like, his trading doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand it at all. And when I would watch your videos, I had no idea. I was like, holy cow, this guy it just looked like you were randomly taking trades with big size and just like, you were getting in and out, which is some like really quickly, which is something I never seen before. And I was, the thought actually crossed my mind at one point. I was like, man, maybe this is all trading really is. Like, you just have to have like nerves of steel and just like take big size and just go in and out, and you don't even have to know anything.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like just
Eh,
it's
not
just
quite,
luck.
but
Yeah.
no,
So
I've heard a lot of people say that. They're like, it just doesn't make any sense, you know. And a lot of people were, you know, making fun of me. He's like, oh, he's using market orders. I remember in those early streams, and and I guess, yeah, I mean, you were one of them. They're like, this doesn't make any sense. He's just getting. A lot of people are like, oh, he's just getting lucky. He shouldn't be using market orders. What you know. So it's just
100.
funny to hear, you know, you did 2 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, and the funny thing is too is I remember I looked you up on Google or something, like maybe there's some more info, and I came across like this Reddit thread, and the people were like, there's no way this guy is legit. Like, his P&L curve just goes straight up. He's like, no one gets those kind of returns. And I was just like, I thought it was funny. Um, but I'm not gonna lie, like, when I watched your videos, I was like, damn, like, how is this guy doing this? I was so impressed, um, and so I was with Juan at the time, and then so I'd known about you that whole time. And but yeah, then with like the RT stuff, like so I learned about him from I learned about you from RT, and he was and so what I noticed was is like shortly after that, I was still, I still look at RT's channel, and I was also looking at Marcelo's stuff too. I guess I haven't seen him putting on anything for a while, or maybe I just haven't looked. But all those, what I started to see was a lot of those guys were doing that thing that I saw that you started, which was the dip within the rip stuff, where you wait for the green candle to come down like a fourth or halfway, and then you get in, and then it pops back up, you get out. And they weren't trading like that at all before. So when I started to see that, I was like, man, like, trading farmer, he's like really he's got something happening. Because before, like, I just hadn't seen anything like that. And then I started seeing all these other traders start to adopt it. And it all changed. So like their P&L started to go way up. And so that was a big kind of like aha like moment.
Yeah.
And quick shout out, by the way, to Trex Trades, also formerly known as Sir Clive. We've been talking on Discord for a long time, and he was the one who was like, man, like, I just got Farmer's Course, like, you should do it. Like, it's really good. Because we were, he had been through MMU and he'd been through Warrior, and he was like, this is the guy. Like, I'm telling you, the course is amazing. You got to get on it. And I was just thinking, like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I want to do that because, you know, I just
You
I don't
weren't
know. This
sold.
guy is,
You weren't sold yet.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I
I was
didn't
like,
know.
I don't know.
I think you mentioned. I forgot. I forgot that. Yeah, someone recommended it to you. I guess that was Trex. He's
Yeah. So
also in the community quite often. So
So
that's it.
big shout out to him because because I trusted him. Like, we've been talking for a long time. So so when he said that, that's when I like, I kind of like, all right, I really want to learn how this guy is doing this. Because before I was like, man, like, I was kind of mad. I was just like, I don't want to learn it because like he's not a real, like, he's like doing this thing that's like, it just doesn't make any sense. But then at the end of the day, I would go to the video, watch your streams, and I'm just like, this guy, like, dude, this dude is like incredible. Like, if he has some way of trading or some mindset or something, like, I gotta see what this is about. So that's when I
So
got the course.
so you got the course. You want to pull up your screen again because
Yeah.
that kind of, you had already kind of come out of the hole. But where was it that you kind of picked up the 50-50? Because you got the course early 24.
Literally, this just happened to be, this is the day, because I remember February 12th.
Okay.
So, and so one thing I want to say quickly too is that you really helped me with max loss. Like that's a big, like I was profitable here, but I would still have these blow up days. And yeah, I was still profitable and I turned a corner with Tesla, but I would still have those big blow up days, which just it was just really weighing on my mental state in a way that was really frustrating because then I would always have to size back down again. And then you can see it here. It's like small size. And so on February 12th, I won't show up here, but that's when I switched to the 50/50. And right when I got your course, I'd been just like binging the course, watching it, and then also starting to super get into your streams and just studying them.
Right, because I remember you were still kind of holding on to Tesla a little bit, and I think you're all done with Tesla.
I'm done. Yeah, I had a that's like a new rule for me actually that I made.
It's a new rule. It's like an ex-girlfriend. It's like, nah, I'm not. I used to love you, but not not anymore.
Exactly.
Too toxic.
Yeah, because every time, like I was like, well, like what I'll do is on days where small caps are slow, I'll just trade Tesla. But then a lot of the times I couldn't make the change, like because I had a whole different way I was doing Tesla.
Right. Yeah,
I was still scalping it, but it wasn't the same. So anyway, so yeah, here it is again. Yeah, this is when I started the 50/50 right here. And
212.
212, and then just tiny size. And actually I can probably just go to
Hey, so you're a small size and you have been sizing up recently. And
yeah,
I think I forget what share sizing you're using now, but I remember talking to you. I think you were around 30 to 50 shares, and you were still kind of trading Tesla, but okay, what's this? So February.
So here's when I started the 50/50 and with
30, 50. Yeah, so it's about $30 green days.
Yeah, and I was doing the nine shares, 27.45. And then I think I just basically stayed with that for this week, and then I started to kind of increase gradually.
But still super consistent.
Yeah. And then I think, okay, so this is something I wanted to mention. So this is actually important for me. It was March. So check this out. In March, this was the first month I'd ever followed max loss ever. And you really helped me get like a realistic max loss number, which was $100. So I messed up the first day, basically 2 times my max loss. But then the rest of the time, here I messed up a little bit on the 7th. But after that, for the most part, I was keeping it around $100. And I had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 max loss days. And some of them were twice over, some of them were over. But I still ended green on the month.
600 and over $600. Yeah, I remember that because I remember you would get so upset, on your red days. And just from working with like other traders, they and I don't know which is right or wrong, but you definitely do get hard on yourself. I'm like, look, dude, you got to be okay with it. I remember screaming. I'd scream. There were sometimes, not even directly to you, but just to the community. I'm like, guys, you got to follow max loss, or you just got to leave the course. You just got to leave the community, because it's like this. If you can't. This is the most important rule. And I do remember that, like, even though you were whining that month a little bit, you're like, all these red days. I was like, dude, just stick to your max loss. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge. Yeah, I mean that was like I would say, arguably one of the biggest moments for me was in March, because it showed me like this is.
It was like proof. Yeah,
exactly. This is what following max loss will do.
So that was kind of like the third question, like, what was your turning point? It was kind of that, it was like March. It was kind of like, proof that, like, hey, at the end of the day, you could be good at trading 9 times out of 10, but on the 10th day, if you don't follow max loss or you snowball, but you could lose it all.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think I'd already turned the corner from Tesla, but again, I felt like the max loss was like a big part, a big missing piece of the puzzle
right.
that, and now since following it, it's just massively helped my profits, and not only that, but honestly, more importantly, really more importantly, is my mental state. Um, because at least if you follow your max loss, you can at least be proud of yourself for having the discipline to do that.
Yeah,
You know?
that's what I've found because I'm kind of like you. In a lot of ways, I'm like you, and that's I was a musician. I was into music. You played video games too,
Yeah.
and more importantly, I do get really upset when I'm not making money, I guess, or if I'm red, or if I feel like I didn't do well. And there was this time, years prior to profitability, or years ago, where I kept thinking, once I become profitable, then I'll start respecting a max loss. That's literally what I thought. And basically, the market took me to my knees before I finally said, "Hey, like max loss, I gotta follow it because I'm just losing. I wasn't throwing stuff across the room, but I just remember walking out of trading some days just felt like just a pile of crap, and you just feel terrible. And it's like, dude, red days are normal. Red days are fine. It's part of it's the cost of doing business.
Right.
And I'm still to this day, even though I scream at my students to follow max loss, you guys even see me struggle to respect it, because it's one thing to know you have a max loss. It's one thing to have a max loss. It's another thing to be able to follow it. And sometimes, for me, it took basically me about to quit before I finally was like, dude, it doesn't, I have to,
Right.
I have to follow it.
Yeah. And I mean, there were days in that month of March where I hit my max loss in the first 5 minutes of the day. And I wanted to I was just like, "Gah!" I was about to just, it's one of the hardest things to
Yeah.
away from.
I remember too, kind of my early days too. I remember taking a trade at open. This was like 2021. Very early into my career, and I that one trade, it just flushed on me at the open. I was down $1,200 to start the day. This is for like the first trade of the day, and I remember my dad was sitting behind me because he was working from home for some reason that day. And I was so angry. I was like, "Wow, I'm at max loss," and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna work on discipline today. I'm just gonna shut it down. Which prior, like maybe 6 months before that moment, that would have been a day where I just would have kept going and going and going. And next thing you know, you just lost, a month's progress in one day. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah,
The max loss, guys. If you take anything away from this video, max loss,
yeah,
follow it.
yeah, totally. And I remember there's some other people in the Discord like BZ, especially BZ. We had this thing where we would be like max loss, max loss, max loss, like every day.
Oh,
all we cared about.
I remember that. Yeah, because you've been almost a year now officially. I know you found the channel back in 22 and all that, but like as far as like being a main person here in the community, and shout out to Mike, who we plan to have on soon, and hopefully many more people. Just I remember that phase is every day you're like max loss, guys. It was like you found, it's like you found a new religion or a life-changing fact.
My mantra. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And also, yeah, shout out to Mike too, because he really helped me with other aspects of he's helping me right now actually, with level 2 stuff and a little bit. And so that's been really, yeah, shout out to.
So yeah, level 2, because I wanted another big question, because I know this is kind of almost unique to you, but also not, it's not unique to everybody. Are you focused more on the chart or the level 2? I already know the answer, but you tell us kind of what's going on there with what exactly you're looking at.
So yeah, like a quick background to that. So so my previous mentor, trading Tesla, when Juan switched over to trading Tesla, I kind of just went with him, kind of in his little Discord that he had at the time. Did the same thing basically, and it went from a small cap to a large cap room basically. Um, and he just stopped using level 2. So he took
Oh.
the level 2 off. So I off the charts, off of his
Oh,
chart.
really?
He's gone.
That
Yeah.
makes sense for
And
the large
so
caps a little bit.
what's that?
I said that kind of makes sense because the large caps, the level 2 seems to be, you can get so many false signals at least.
Right.
So
It's
that kind
not
of
as
makes sense now. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, and so he stopped using level 2 completely. And so all he was going off of was reading the candlesticks and the time and sales. And honestly, for me, it hasn't been till recently that I've actually really been using time and sales now, like more seriously. And I
Mm,
actually feel like I'm getting that intuition with it. And
right.
it's kind
Oh,
of
I know
like,
what you're saying. Yeah.
that's been really helpful. That's like added another layer. But yeah,
Right.
no, to answer your question, I'm a 95% chart reader. Like I just read the candlesticks.
So like once you get into a trade,
Mm-hmm.
are you still looking at the chart? Are you
Yeah.
or okay.
I
Yeah,
mean,
well that's what I was wondering. Because
I mean,
a lot of people have asked me and I have used you. There's some people are like, "Hey, is it wrong to just be looking at the chart?" And I was like, it would be nice to incorporate level 2 and I think for small cap, the quick in and outs, I still think keeping your eyes on level 2 or at least practicing with it is good.
mhm.
But I was like, I also know some traders, right? We saw your graph, you're taking off, and it's clear you've turned a corner. Like that's a pretty big sample size of this just going straight up. So I was like, I know traders that are finding success just using basically the chart and maybe time and sales.
Yeah, I mean, like today I had my best day I've ever had. I made $625.
Oh, today's the best day. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's so a perfect day to do an interview.
Yeah.
Big, so 650 and you shut down pretty early, which is not bad. I think
Yeah,
that's smart.
my highs were around like 650, and then I took off 20 bucks off the top or something, and I shut it down. Yeah, I mean, I yeah, I mean, and I actually was talking with Mike recently yesterday, and I'm trying to read the ladder more, and he got real detailed about what he's doing at least. And
Okay.
so, and it actually had to do with the dip within the rip. Um, so on those specific plays, like what he's looking for. Um, so that helps because a lot of times a lot of times I see when you're trading, you'll have the big green candle up and then it'll dip down like maybe a fourth of the way, and then you get in and then it'll go higher. And a lot of times for me, what I do is I don't get in unless it's halfway dip. And so a lot of times I'm missing a lot of the moves because
Those micro moves, yeah.
yeah, it'll dip only a fourth and then it'll go. And so from your videos and also what Mike was telling me yesterday too, he was just saying like, yeah, like uh farmer is basically looking at the level 2 there to see where the price drops down to on the ladder, and then when it gets that support, then he gets in.
Yeah,
And
because
sometimes it's not going to be at the halfway point.
I would say like I use the chart to look for the opportunities, to look for the setups. But once I'm like, if I'm trading a breakout or something, or once I'm in a trade, I'm laser focused on the level 2, which it's the price ladder
Right.
level. I call it level 2, but I'm the price ladder.
Mhm.
And I'm actually kind of the opposite of you. I'm actually trying to, because I want to start holding trades longer on some instances. Sometimes I forget about the chart. I get chopped out on the level 2. I get so zoomed in on the time and sales that I forget the chart pattern is still looking good. So I'm actually kind of on the opposite side where I'm trying to incorporate keeping my eyes on the chart while I'm in the trade. I'm kind of going back and forth in some trades. Now, the quick scalps at the highs, dips within the rips, those quick ins and outs, that's for me, I'm on price ladder 100%. But from hearing from you, focusing on the chart, and I was already, coming to this conclusion years ago where it's like, hey, you're getting stopped out at so many trades. And I come back and then I look at the chart. I'm like, it still looks good. And then it rips. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got shaken out because of some micro fluctuation.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, something to add to that too with the chart. So when I talk about, I'm mostly trade off the chart. I mean, yeah, like I'm looking, I draw trend lines and price levels, and I'm
Hmm.
looking at the 5 minute, to see what's showing me there. But that's important. But what I'm talking about is literally like reading the candlesticks like individually and having like a super deep, like intuitive understanding of.
Of like even the movement of the candle.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's like I'm using the price ladder to look for the fluctuations in the price. In some ways, you're just using the candle to look for, hey, it just dipped. And then so in some ways, it's almost like we're interpreting the same information.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
still feel like the level two is probably more clear ultimately. But I think
I think
like
the
and a lot of times I can even tell like, oh, it's gonna flux, like you can just feel it. It's like,
it
if
gets
it's about to drop,
uh-huh.
you can just tell, like, and it's like it'll be like a tiny subtle thing that I'm looking at within the candle in question that I'm looking at.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know.
I think that goes to show that there's a lot of new traders that think, okay, there's only one way, even though we're trading the same strategy, even though you're a 50-50 trader, I'm a 50-50 trader, or whatever you want to call it, there's no right or wrong answer. Like you find what you like. I mean, there is like some people are way off base, if they're just saying, oh, I'm just looking at the MACD. I'm like, that's not really something we use for the hyper scalping per se, but it's more so, hey, you have screen time, you have experience and intuition built around watching candlesticks, and it's working. And I have experience and screen time mainly looking at price ladder.
Mhm.
And some people don't even like the price ladder. They have experience and skill looking at traditional level two, and it's
Right.
like it's just as what works for you, even though we're trading the same strategy, you find how you like to, everyone's going to be a little bit different. And I think 100%, and we've already talked about this, me and you, like you aren't like totally trying to forget about level two. It seems like you're actually trying to incorporate it in your trading a little bit. And I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to on the flip side incorporate the chart too, because same. I think there's anyway.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's yeah, so in a lot of ways it's totally like it's like music, I mean it's the same kind, at least that's how I look at it, definitely, because you learn from the people that have influenced you, especially if you're like composing or improvising. And honestly, you know, it's interesting because I feel like trading is a language, like a visual language. Like price action is a language, just like music is a language, or any other spoken. But I feel like with trading, it's a visual language, um, and you learn from the people that came before you, or your mentors, just like what I experienced with music, and then you kind of find your own voice, so to speak,
Yeah.
um, through combining the things that you learned, and then you add in your own thing to it.
Yeah, it's like you take their framework, you take the foundation of what they taught you, and then you're going to add in your own. You bring your personality to it. Everybody's a little bit different, and there's so much variability
Right.
in the little things. And again, little things can make all the difference. Um,
Right. Yeah.
but I like that about the music because I always talk about that, like learning to play an instrument is like learning to trade. It's like it's you can watch somebody play drums all day long, but if you don't actually pick up the sticks
Right.
and practice, you're not going to. Someone asked me even today, he's like, how much do you think your success has to do with your experience and intuition? And I was like, it almost has everything to do with it, right? Because of what I just said. It's like just because I'm telling you how to hold the drumstick, just because I'm telling you, hey, this is how you play the drum kit or play the flute or whatever. There's no way you're going to have any skill, any
Right.
success until you actually pick it up. So that's kind of my whole thing. It's like learning to trade is like learning to play an instrument. The only difference is every time you miss a note in trading, you lose money. And so that's why it's like the only way to learn is to fail and fail a lot.
That's right.
But do it safely. That's
right. Yeah, exactly.
That's the key thing. I'm like, guys, please.
Small size. That's the importance of small size when you're starting.
Yeah, and I think, well, I especially with Mike, and when we interview him later, we'll talk about him. But I was like, guys, you got to size down. Let's get the consistency. And a lot of people don't want to because they're impatient. They're like, well, I don't care. I'm only making $20 in a day. I'm like, well, we don't care about how much money you're making right now. We're worried about working on your form, we're working on building up your experience, the consistency, right? We're not talking about getting out of your drawdown right now. And I remember when we were first talking, I think you were break even, but or maybe just a little bit in your drawdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, look, let's just, because you and Mike came to me and it's the first thing is, oh, I'm down 8,000 or I'm down 5,000. I'm like, dude, okay, I get it. It's like, let's just forget about that and let's size down. And then I was also pounding into guys. I was really almost beating them down. I'm like, follow Max Loss, you freaking idiots. And I don't think I said that to you, but maybe. But I was like,
fine. Yeah, I mean,
because
it's the best thing. I mean, it's so important. I'm just going to keep saying it. It's to anyone listening. You got to follow your Max Loss for a while, and it has to become like a habit. And then once you build up a big cushion, then you can start to be a little bit more loose. And then the other thing too I want to mention about that is something that you told me, and which I'm seeing in my own trading now, which it almost doesn't even make any sense. But you actually said that you said like, so the more experience you get with trading, and then also with following your Max Loss, because you're following your Max Loss, you start to recognize, maybe the day wasn't good. It wasn't good action, or, you just didn't trade that well, but you start to recognize very clearly what you're doing wrong. And because of that, you have the knowledge and experience to tell when, oh, the day isn't going well. And a lot of times, and so you size down, you protect yourself. And so a lot of the times the drawdowns, as you get more experienced and your Max Loss might get bigger because you're trying to size up, you actually will have less of a drawdown than you did before a lot of the times, because you realize, oh, today isn't good, or I'm not trading well. And you just you back off and you ease off the gas well before you even get to Max Loss. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've shown, I don't know how many people are saying, but I show that outlining that my drawdown since early 21 has, even though I've increased size, right? I wasn't taking 30,000 shares back in the day. It was, one trade in, one trade out foundation and 50-50. Mm-hmm. But my drawdowns have gotten tighter and tighter consistently over the last 3 years, even as I have sized up. And again, it's 100% because over time, like you said, you don't even need to get to Max Loss. You get to the point where it's like, this day feels like I'm about to go to Max Loss. I'm not even going to bother. My emotions are all over the place. And, that's that self-discipline. That's that intuition that someone was asking about today. I'm like, how much does intuition have to do with your success? Almost everything.
Yeah, that's 100%. And I mean, and as far as I'm concerned, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned about trading is that it is intuitive, especially if you're scalping, and especially if you're scalping penny stocks or, low price stocks, low float. It's a huge aspect of it. And I think, I've seen this a lot of places online. A lot of people say that this kind of trading is one of the hardest, to master. And I think that's because it's so intuitive. There's no, we're not using like, well, let me calculate my risk to reward ratio and have it be 4-to-1.
Yeah,
And
2R, and we got a
yeah,
2R. We
yeah,
got to set brackets. And
right. It's none of that. It's like you have a max loss, and then you gradually size up, and whatever you get on the day is what you get. You're
right.
not, you know
You're
what I
not.
mean?
We're
So
not setting stops in this strategy. There's no stops. And there's really not even price targets per se. In some ways, I say I have targets, but it's never like I'm holding until 4, or I'm holding until
right.
this. Sometimes, yes, when you're like, okay, here's the apex level, and I choose to hold. But a lot of times, it's like we're getting the dip, mark it in, whatever price. We don't. I don't care, and hopefully we get a good fill,
Mm.
and if not, whatever. But we're waiting for the green volume to come in. It pops up, mark it out. And traditionally trading has been like, okay, my entry is going to be 2. I'm going to put my order on the bid and get my order ready, and I'm going to set my sell order at 2:30, and I'm just going to let the odds play out, and I'm just going
Right.
to wait for confirmation, and I'm just going to like that's not anything to do with 50-50. The market orders in over and over again, um, which
Yes.
some people don't like. I don't know. Some people don't like it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, that's the thing that's so amazing about the 50-50 though, is that I feel like it actually is one of the most consistently profitable strategies I've ever come across. I mean, definitely for me, the most consistent because of the nature of the getting in, getting out, um, that whole concept, you can have 20 green days in a row,
Mm-hmm.
or more or whatever, and then so it's, I mean, so those people on Reddit talking about, well, this guy, how does he have a P&L curve that basically goes straight up? It's because of that. It's because, and that's the thing too that I've discovered about the strategy too, the 50-50 is like, it's so different from other strategies and courses or whatever, because I feel like it's not just, it's a whole concept. Like it's not just like, well, here's some setups and and then these are like, I'm going to give you a billion different chart patterns and like
Yeah. It,
diagrams and all that. It's a whole concept of, which I don't think I've seen anything else like that. Which makes it so incredible is that it's a conceptual thing. It's like, yeah, there's setups that that you use in the 50-50, like dip within the rip or like the false breakdown. And then outside of that, I think a lot of it is just like the intuition that comes in with
right.
just trading price action. But that concept of getting in and like, the getting in, getting out quickly, no averaging down, like these very, stuff like that. It's like these very large kind of conceptual things, that I mean, yeah, it just it can make that kind of consistency possible, you know, in a way that I haven't been able to find anywhere else. Like not with Ross and definitely not with MMU. Like, I mean, nothing against those guys, of course, but they're all great traders, and but I just haven't seen something quite like the 50-50. So I'm really grateful that. So again, shout out to Trex Trades. Thank you, Trex,
Trex.
for
Yeah,
sending
we
me
got to
on.
give him a special shout out. Hopefully he leaves a comment. I think we're up about 45 minutes here. So
Cool.
I think that's a good place to end it there with what you're
Sure.
saying is it sounds like you are all on board with trading
Yeah,
this
yeah,
style, and it's looking like it's working.
it's
You haven't
great.
made $1
Yeah,
million yet, but the proof is right there on your chart. The proof is in your voice, in your confidence. That's the same way a lot of traders I noticed as soon as they turn the corner, and I think you're never going to look back. You're never going to I don't want to jinx it, but I'm
right.
thinking next year. I mean, you're going to have some serious profits, and I'm excited, and I'm hoping you stick around.
Yeah, I
Even just
just,
to check in.
I just gotta, yeah, I mean, I hope so too. I just think that just one last thing is like, you got to come in. I mean, or I'm talking to myself here, but you have to come in every morning, just discipline as the 100% priority. Like every morning when I wake up before I trade, like literally before I get out of bed, when my alarm rings at 6 a.m., I literally just sit there and I say the things I'm grateful for, number one, and then in my life. And then number two is I say, I'm, please, to whatever, God, the universe, whatever it is, your inner self, whatever, I have to follow my max loss, and I'm going to be disciplined and aware of my mental state.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and I say that to myself every morning, and then I take a cold shower.
Well, so you do have a ritual set up, which is good, a routine. I know that's good. I used to do similar things, now I'm getting, 4 years or 3-4 years into this, I'm getting kind of like just showing up half asleep, like, all right, guys.
Yeah.
But for you, I think I was the same way. And I think other traders, this isn't just this video isn't just to hear Blair. This is to hear Blair's story, but also see how you can apply some of the lessons he's learned, how you could maybe mimic what he's doing. And again, he's not the only one doing this. And he, we've if you've been around this channel, you know kind of who. And of course, we're gonna have Mike. He's gonna be on here soon as well. And we've all been, he's in the Discord. So guys, make sure you're in the Discord talking. And I believe, if you see Blair's name, know that this is Blair. He's real, okay, and he's got what he's saying is well, it's approved. I approve what Blair says, and so you got to listen to him. And of course, Mike and BZ and Trex Trades, Twin, those are people that have been around here a while, and I trust. But I think we're gonna cut that there because I don't want to go too long. So, but anyways, thank you, Blair. Thank you for
thank you.
this joining me today.